Taking a crosstown bus doesn't seem to be a big deal, right? Just go see a play and do a little shopping. Simple, right? Right up until it wasn't. Elsie didn't drive anymore. It wasn't safe for anyone. A bus to the big mall on the other side of town. Another bus farther into the inner city and the theater. So far, so good. Elsie wondered why she didn't do this more often. Add a little interest to the old routine. It wasn't until after the play that things went awry. Elsie was not a fast mover at her age. It took time to get out of the crowded theater after having sat so long. She got to the bus stop just in time to see the taillights leave the parking lot. She waited there for nearly an hour until a theater janitor told her that there were no more buses tonight. Could have said something sooner, but it is what it is. Elsie decides to walk to the, next stop. A little exercise on the grand adventure wouldn't hurt anything at all. She had no idea where to go, but staying there wasn't going to do anything. This is where things start to come apart. Neon flash fell on dirty pavement, creating a scene in garish hues that did nothing to soothe Elsie's fried nerves. She clutched, her handbag closer, digging her nails into the leather. She hadn't meant to wander off so far. Hadn't meant to wander at all. A peek down a promising side street. And then, bupkis. No familiar landmarks, only a maze of alleys and abandoned buildings. She regretted it all, every last bit of it. The play wasn't even that good. The grand notion of stepping out alone, of adding interest to the twilight years, now felt like a bad joke, where she was the punchline. She longed for her quiet little bungalow, the scent of bacon from the kitchen, the predictable chime of the grandfather clock in the hall. Home. All she wanted was home. She finally found a bus stop. But at this late hour, the city buses had also stopped. A digital sign clearly stated, "Out of service." She'd asked a young man with headphones for help, but he'd mumbled something she couldn't understand and hurried past, leaving her still stranded. Shiver went up and down her spine that had nothing to do with the temperature. She felt it, a prickling sensation at the back of her neck, a sense of being watched. You know that feeling of someone in your personal space behind you. Soft, rhythmic steps echoing hers with unnerving precision. She risked a glance over her shoulder. Nothing. Just an empty darkness that swallowed all the light. When she continued, her pace quickening, she heard it again, closer this time. The sound of someone following, or something. Her heart hammered against her ribs like it might run away without her. A heart attack seems completely possible. This was no time to fall apart. She pressed on, her breath coming in ragged gasps. Her feet hurt, but she didn't know it. Every darkened doorway seemed to harbor a pair of eyes, spiteful and plotting. Graffiti, something she's never understood, laughed down at her from encroaching walls. This part of the city, once alive with industry, had transformed into a menacing predator, and she a frail and naive prey. Waves of panic rolled in like rising tide. She fumbled for her phone, the noisy plastic gadget she never thought to use. The Ubers. She'd heard that people use it all the time. Her granddaughter had put it on the phone, just in case. But the app demanded an address, and she had no idea where she was. She looked around, desperately searching for a street sign, a recognizable building, anything. But the street signs were missing, probably stolen, and the buildings all looked the same. The few people she saw scurried past, their faces averted. No one could be bothered to speak. "Please, she whispered, her voice swallowed by fright. Tears welled her eyes. She was utterly and stupidly alone. She stopped, leaning against a cold brick wall, her legs trembling. The footsteps were closer now, a distinct and deliberate rhythm that turned her blood to ice. She squeezed her eyes shut, a silent prayer escaping her lips. When she opened her eyes, a car had silently glided to a halt at the curb. A window rolled down, and a whiskey and cigarette voice called out, "Hey, lady! You all right?" Elsie blinked, her mind struggling to adjust to the unexpected question. A young woman, her face sculpted by weariness, but her eyes held a spark of genuine concern. I'm lost," Elsie choked out, her voice barely a whisper. "I can't find my way. Home! I have no idea where I am." Elsie felt foolish revealing her vulnerability. You never know who is a serial killer. A flicker of suspicion crossed the driver's face as she surveyed the empty street. With a world-worn sigh of acceptance, she unlocked the car. "Climb in, me dear," she offered, her voice threaded with gentle worry. "Let's get headed your way," Elsie didn't argue. She fell heavily into the car. The aroma of stale cigarettes and cheap air freshener were welcome. As the car pulled away, she looked back down the dark alley she had just been standing in front of. A dark figure. She was sure of it. The boy, with the headphones. Or just the shadows playing tricks on her overwrought mind. Or perhaps, she thought, the city itself had simply decided to let her go. Elsie shyly pulled a 20 out of her handbag and put it in the cup holder. Maybe payment would ensure that she wouldn't be robbed. You never know who's a mugger. The woman nodded in thanks. As they drove, Elsie gave directions as best she could, piecing together landmarks and fragments of memory. The woman listened patiently, offering occasional nods of understanding. After what felt like 2 eternities, a familiar street sign swam into view. "Here," Elsie said, pointing towards her home nestled behind a flowering hedge. "This is it. Thank you, dear. You're a blessing to an old lady. Thank you so much." The driver pulled over, offering a jaded smile, said, "Just be careful out there, all right? This city ain't always kind." A bucket of relief splashed over Elsie as she exited the vehicle. Reaching the gate, she glanced back, intending to express her thanks once more. Yet, the car had vanished. A phantom, silent and dark, absorbed into the shadows as mysteriously as it had materialized. Elsie pushed open the gate, the familiar scent filling her with relief. She walked up the path, her hand reaching for the reassuring curve of the doorknob. Home. She was finally home. But as she stepped inside, she couldn't shake the feeling that she had left something behind in that strange alley. The ghostly images. The young woman showing up just in time, placing the pistol back in her nightstand, she tucked herself in for the night. What an adventure, what a day. Saying an earnest prayer for that kind young woman whose sympathy had saved her. Hoping that, in future, she would be more careful who she let in the car.